Today we will be discussing how to convert fractions to decimals to percents. Today we will have three objectives for our lesson. The first objective is to understand the relationship between fractions, decimals, and percents. The second objective of today's lesson will be to be able to convert from fractions to decimals to percents. And our third objective of the day will be able to be comfortable switching back and forth between the three. First, we will start with understanding the relationship between fraction to decimal. The relationship between fractions, decimals, percents is that they are simply different numerical expressions of the same value. So you can see that 30% is the same as 3 over 10, which is the same as 0.3. Next, we will learn about converting fractions to decimals. The line in a fraction that separates the numerator and the denominator can be written using the division symbol. So to convert a fraction to a decimal, divide the numerator by the denominator. You can see in our examples that 3 over 10 simply equals 0.3, and that 17 over 100 equals 0.17. So you can see that for how many zeros there are, that's how many numbers should be behind the decimal. So as our example, 47 over 1,000, you see that there are 3 zeros. So there should be 3 numbers behind the decimal, which only 2 above the fraction. So that means we will need to add a 0 in to make it equal. Next, we will learn about converting decimals to percents. Next, we will go over how to convert from decimals to percent. To convert, you simply multiply the decimal number by 100, and then you put the percent sign so people know it is per 100. If you look at our examples, 0.75 is simply 75%, and 0.8 is 80%. But when we get to 0.06, you have to move the decimal 2 places to the right, only producing you with 6%. On 0.345, when you move it 2 decimal places to the right, you get 34.5%. Don't get confused thinking you simply just put a percent sign on the end of it. You still have to multiply by 100. Now that we have learned how to convert from fractions, decimals to percents, let's look at some examples. Fractions are simply a tiny part or amount of a proportion. A decimal is a fraction whose denominator is a power of 10 and whose numerator is expressed by figures placed to the right of a decimal point. Percents by a specified amount in or every 100. So when you have half, you have 0.5 and then 50%. Whereas when you have 1, you have 1.0 and 100%.